Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Now, today's first story comes from a throwaway account saying, would I be the arsehole if I break up with my fiance because of his past as a cheater? And before we do get into today's story, it does contain talk of miscarriage. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. I, 25 female, met my fiance, Jamie, 34 male, a year ago through a friend. We instantly clicked and started dating. After 1 year, he proposed to me and I said yes. But here's the thing. Before proposing, he told me the truth about his past relationship. He was married to a woman, Cynthia, 3 years ago, and they divorced because he started cheating on her with a co-worker. He regrets ever doing that. He's been on a healing journey from that. He's told me that the affair was a mistake and that he would never do it again. He just wants to be honest with me before we take this relationship to the next level. I understand what he meant. He's obviously remorseful and I have seen his ex-wife. She seems happier with someone else. And everyone makes mistakes or takes decisions that they regret. I trust him and I love him a lot, but I can't shake off this feeling that he would not do this to me. This started when he was being secretive about his phone. He would smile at the screen often. I asked him what it is and he just showed me his phone and he was looking at a meme. He probably sensed that I was doubting him, so he let me check his phone. There was nothing in there, but I still couldn't trust him. A few days after our engagement, he had a work party. He took me to that party as well. I saw that he was being a bit friendly to some woman. I went there and introduced myself. Later I got to know she was the same girl he cheated with. I confronted him about it. He said that he doesn't talk to her. They broke up shortly after their divorce and he cannot avoid her because he worked with her. I told him I am not comfortable with him hanging out with someone who was his mistress. He respected my decision and as far as I know, he has not contacted her outside of work. I know I have no reason to doubt him. He doesn't give off any signs of infidelity, yet I have a hard time trusting him. He is loving and caring. He supports me in my dreams. He is patient and kind. I know it is unfair of me to judge him based on just that. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine asked me to meet her and she told me the whole truth about Jamie. She knows Cynthia because she and her brother were college friends. She told me to be careful of Jamie because he cheated on his ex-wife. I told her I already know that. She further told me he started cheating on Cynthia right after she had a miscarriage. He was upset that Cynthia was depressed and he started to feel neglected. After talking to my friend, I confronted Jamie. He told me that this was the truth. He was still in grief because he lost his child. He didn't know what he was thinking. He started to feel resentful towards her, but he never meant to hurt her. I asked him that I need a break from all of this. It is just too much for me. He said he understands and I still haven't talked to him. I don't know if I should break up with him just because of this. He does feel guilty about it, but he is really nice and mature. Will I be making a mistake if I break up with him? Edit. I think I should mention that he never said anything about a miscarriage. He just told me they had a tragic accident which made both of them distant. I didn't ask because he said he doesn't want to talk about it. Also, I'm still not fully sure if he regrets the cheating because he never confessed to cheating to his wife. His wife caught him in the middle of the act inside their house. So this has been a bother that he got caught and probably feels guilty for that. I don't know. Someone says to OP on this one, they said, don't marry people you have known for a year, especially people who are known cheaters. There's absolutely no reason to rush things if you don't trust him. Slow things way down if you want to try and work things out, but also someone being a cheater is absolutely valid reason to dump them. Here's the thing, regardless if he ever cheats again or not, you don't trust him. That's enough of a reason to end it. You wouldn't be an arse to end it as his past has given you a reason not to trust him. Not the arsehole. Then OP replies giving more context about the ex's marriage and says, I tried my best to rationalize this, but the more I think about his past relationship, it really sets off a red alarm. Suppose I forgot to mention he and his wife have been dating longer than we have. They were married for 4 years. I do believe people can change for the better, but I still cannot shake off the feeling that he wouldn't repeat the same mistakes. I know even if I break up with him and be with someone else, there will be the same doubt. But what if someone is like me? I've never cheated on any relationship I had. It's just this thing that has been bothering me a lot. I don't think there is a specific age of marriage. My parents got married when they were 20. They only dated for 6 months and they are still together. So I do think I am old enough to get married. I'm not pregnant, I just have a condition where it will create complications while pregnant. My mum has it, my grandma had it. But Luella says he didn't tell you the whole truth. He told you the part he could most easily put a spin on and made you pry the ugly details out of him when other people sought you out to warn you. He may say he'll never cheat again, but he still sees lying by omission and running interference as solutions to his problems, and that should give you massive pause. Lady Ash Grey says he is still in contact with his mistress, red flag. He still works with his mistress, red flag. He never told you the full story about the cheating, red flag. He is not reliable in times of need. He sought another woman while his wife was in one of the deepest hell a woman can be in. Ask yourself, if something traumatic happened to you, will he A, be there for you, or B, seek out his own comfort? Let his history guide you and you will see your potential future. You need to step away from this 30-year-old cheating divorcee. He is a red flag. I don't want one says that's a hell of a lot of baggage for you as a 25-year-old. You wouldn't be an asshole if you left. It doesn't sound like you're on a level playing field, and he doesn't sound like the kind of guy that would adjust to you when times get hard. Opie says I fear that I might be next because I have a condition that puts me in risk of miscarriage. He knows that, but I don't think if we ever have a child and I miscarried, he would go back to his old ways. As per my previous says, I would break it off. I don't think your fiance has really done the work to understand why he was unfaithful. He seems to use the very distancing language while also still sell the narrative of neglect. It just happened. I wasn't thinking straight. I didn't mean to hurt her. These are all phrases of someone who may feel guilt for their actions but doesn't really care to take responsibility for their choices. He doesn't seem to have acknowledged that his feelings of neglect were unreasonable. The fact that you're almost 10 years younger and he's rushing you into marriage after only 1 year isn't a good sign. He's still not mature enough for marriage. I speculate that while he feels bad, he doesn't think how he moves through life should really have to change that much. You react in the way you are because you know I said sorry really isn't good enough. Your instincts are telling you something important. You need to listen. And one more comment which says, it doesn't matter to me how remorseful someone is after the fact. He cheated, and at the time when his ex needed him, you could never trust him. There are some times when a cheater and their spouse can work through cheating, but it takes a lot of work. It relies on the cheater being totally honest and totally accepting of their role as a cheater. I don't see any evidence of this here. He was a bit vague about it too, OP. So if OP wants to break up now that she has a fuller picture, then she's not the arsehole. So OP does update the post and they say, I analysed all the things you guys said. Some of you all have told me to forgive him because apparently a man's cheating is not a big deal because men can't control themselves. What? That was hilarious, as if that is going to help me. Anyways, I talked to him. I explained that his past bothers me. I mean, he cheated on his wife when she was going through something so traumatic. I brought up the fact that I am also in high risk when it comes to pregnancy. I told him I cannot fully trust him that he will not cheat on me as well. He told me that he has learned his lesson from the previous time. When his infidelity got exposed, he had people around him calling him a monster. His parents still don't talk to him directly. He feels guilty because of it and regrets it. Then I told him that maybe we should date more rather than rushing into marriage and maybe go to couples counseling. That's when he got slightly mad. He said that if I don't trust him, then there is no point in being together. I tried to fight and say it's not like that, we just need some time. He has to understand that. He told me again that it is not fair for me to judge him when he never judged me because of my past. I asked what he means by that. He pointed out that he knows how in the past I used to sleep around a lot. Okay, let me be clear to you. Yes, when I was in college, I did have a few one-night stands and few serious relationships. I told him he was being illogical because even though I have a sexual history, I never cheated on any of my boyfriends. I always called it quits when I realized it was not meant to be. He kept pressing the matter and says I should let it go because he let go of my past. What the fuck? I said my past is in the past, and now I'm thinking about my future, and he is so pathetic to even compare his immoral cheating with my past. He argued that I was immoral too. It felt like a dead-end road. We both shouted and fought, and eventually I took the ring off and said goodbye. The last thing he said that his past and baggage aren't as big as mine, and that I'm a hypocrite for judging him. That I will have a hard time finding a partner who is willing to be with a loose girl like me. It hurts to be honest. I never thought he would act like that. I'm trying my best to move on, but still stuck in limbo and his words are repeating inside my head. Edit. If you guys think you can make me feel bad for having sex in the past, then save it. You won't be the first red pill MGTOW dickhead who has ever said that to me. I just laugh at your face because I'm pretty sure you guys get no bitches and don't threaten me with nobody will wife you up. I will never husband someone whose thinking is so backwards in the first place. Dying single isn't as bad as rotting with men like you guys. So he was comparing Opie having consensual sex to him cheating on his wife who was just recovering from a miscarriage. A fucking idiot. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from Live Appointment 4219 and says, am I the arsehole for refusing to pay for my daughter's wedding because she won't let me walk her down the aisle? I'm a 48-year-old man, and my 19-year-old daughter has always been an independent thinker. I raised her to be independent and to think for herself, which I've always appreciated. However, we recently hit a bit of a snag. She got engaged and decided that she doesn't want me to walk her down the aisle at her wedding. She argues that her mother and I don't own her, therefore we have no right to give her away. I feel hurt by this because we never treated her like an object or piece of property. Rather, we've tried our best to provide her with a wonderful life. Her stance seems extreme to me, and despite discussions, she's refusing to budge on the issue. I respect her choices, but I feel she's disregarding our feelings completely. As a response, I told her that if she feels that way, then I won't be paying for her wedding. I don't want to come across as controlling or manipulative, but by her logic, if I don't own her, I also don't owe her a fully funded wedding. She can pay for her own wedding if she's insistent on this stance. I'm feeling quite conflicted about this. Am I the arsehole? Opie adds an edit to the post and says, so this isn't about me making the wedding about me. Walking her down the aisle, while all eyes are on her anyway, then sitting down is hardly making the wedding about me. It's about her attitude. She's had every opportunity in life so far, and to exclude us from this day is a spit in the face. It's a rejection of everything we've done for her, sacrificed for her, given her. It's selfish. 90% of wedding traditions and symbolism had roots in things we don't acknowledge today. Should we stop all of them? The rings, the flowers, the dress, the wedding party, the cake, the flower girls, a father walking his daughter down the aisle has been about respect, pride, love, and honoring the father-daughter relationship for far longer than it was about ownership. Independent thinking does not mean rude or selfish thinking. Being an independent thinker does not give someone the license to disregard or disrespect the thoughts, feelings, or perspective of others. Independent thinking is about maintaining the ability to think critically and form one's own opinions while remaining respectful and considerate of others. It is a balance between asserting individuality and engaging in meaningful and respectful interactions with others. Edit 2. Also note that our relationship is not so weak that this disagreement will ruin our relationship. We are still close with each other in spite of this. There is zero chance of her not inviting us to her wedding, regardless of who pays for it, or cutting off contact with holding grandchildren. I feel sorry for anyone who suggests that's a possibility. In life, people disagree, even strongly. It's a natural part of life. Won't end lifelong relationships over it. And the comments were actually all over the place on this one. So Dark Yoda comes in straight away, which was the top rated comment, and said, not the arsehole, you heard her, she's independent. Independent people deal with their own bills. Embarrassed Debate says, I can understand why your feelings are hurt. However, were you planning on paying for the wedding as a gift to your child to celebrate their marriage, or because you would get to symbolically give your child away to a spouse? Were you only going to fund the wedding because you own your child? Therefore, if you don't own your child, you don't owe paying for a wedding, per your attempt at throwing it in your child's face. Their stated reason for not wanting to be given away. Your child isn't saying that you treated your children like property, but they probably see the symbolism and where this tradition stems from and don't wish to participate. Try to respect your child's independent thinking and point of view, and you shouldn't expect your children to always compromise their principles because of your feelings. It'd be fine to talk with them and share how you feel, but you're the arsehole for taking your feelings as a reason to not support your child. That said, I don't think people should expect that weddings are paid for by parents, but if there was a reasonable expectation because you funded a sibling wedding, it's not fair for the gift to be contingent on this one thing that is clearly important to your independent thinker. Maybe you can talk about other ways you can be involved in the wedding, especially as tradition doesn't seem to be that important to your child. Always choose listening and talking it out over threats and ultimatums, and it doesn't count as talking it out if the parties are only talking to convince, not listening and trying to understand the other's point of view. Inevitable Pie says, not the arsehole exactly because it's your money, your call, but die on this hill, daughter funds her own wedding, be prepared to not even get an invite, much less walk her down the aisle. It'd be her money, her call. Casket says, and no one's an arsehole here. I get both points of view. I don't want my dad to give me away when I get married, but I also am expecting zero financial support from my parents. It's becoming more normalized that women walk themselves down the aisle. But maybe a compromise can be made and both you and her mum can walk her, so it's more of a show of support for the marriage than a handoff. Just an idea, but I don't believe you're obligated to pay for the wedding at all. Bar Quantity says, not the arsehole. I think your stance is perfectly fair here. Sure, this tradition originated from giving the bride away, but nowadays it has nothing to do with that. It's a way for parents to be involved in the ceremony and be there for their child. If she doesn't want you to walk her down the aisle because she's an independent adult, then she can also pay for her own wedding like an independent adult. Ethan says, not the arsehole, but think long and hard about putting conditions on her wedding. This is a situation where you can win the battle, not paying for the wedding, and lose the war, your daughter. Which is more important to you? Attending the wedding but not walking her down the aisle, or not being invited at all? Ultimately, it's about control on both sides. She accepts your money on the condition you walk her down the aisle. She pays for her own wedding, she controls the guest list. And I was quite blown away by the mix of different opinions on this particular story. This one, for me, it was a you're the arsehole. The way that OP talked about her being, an independent woman, thinking for herself, a critical thinker and all this sort of stuff. And I can very much understand both sides when people choose not to be given away and they don't want that part of the wedding. And I can understand people wanting to include that in their ceremony as well. But that's exactly that. It's their ceremony, so they get to choose whether they include that or not. I think putting myself in OP's position, I wouldn't be offended if it was asked to not include that part of the ceremony. But are you the arsehole for not paying for it? Well, like the comment says, it is your money, but it comes across to me that the indication is that you was going to pay for the wedding, but now it's based on an ultimatum whether you get to walk her down the aisle or not, for her choice on her wedding as an independent person. And OP was convinced that this isn't going to sort of do any damage to the relationship or ruin the relationship or anything like that. There's a part of me that still thinks that it's going to in some way. But what is your thoughts on this situation? How do you feel? Do you think it's a you're the arsehole, not the arsehole? Everyone sucks here maybe? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is from Flatheed1990, who says, am I the arsehole for copying the joke my husband played on me? I, 32 female, have been struggling to keep up with the mess my husband, 30 male, has been making around the house. He's got PTSD and suffers from anxiety and depression, which means he often creates mess and struggles to tidy it up. I try to be understanding, and I don't mind so much if it's a little bit of clutter. It's the empty crisp packets, sweet wrappers, juice cans, bottles and dirty plates, glasses, cups that I really can't stand. I'm going away for a few days on a course for work, so I tidied and cleaned all the rooms in the house so that I don't have loads to come back to. Since then, I found various bits of rubbish and dirty clothing left by my husband when he's well aware that I've just cleaned up. The other day, he put a biscuit wrapper on the radiator where I would see it to see if I would say anything to him about it. Obviously, I did, and he laughed when I said I was annoyed and told me it was just a joke. I told him I didn't think it was funny, and I was having to use my weekend to tidy up his mess. Cut to now. He's finished a full box of tea cakes and left the empty box on the counter in the kitchen, roughly 1 meter away from the bin. In an effort to show him how annoying it is when people leave things lying around and to copy his joke from yesterday, I took the rubbish and put it atop his gaming laptop. No crumbs, just a dry empty box. He's had a tantrum, told me I'm being horrible and doing things to get a response out of him. Thrown some stuff, then told me I've ruined our night. Also said I had to go further to put it on his laptop than just put it in the bin. So why didn't I just do that? I asked him if it's so easy, why didn't he put it in the bin? Petty, perhaps, but he doesn't realize how frustrating it is. I also understand that having mental health issues can make it difficult to keep on top of things, but I feel like he uses it as an excuse sometimes. And we'll start with Poe Adam, who says not the arsehole. Throwing things is a giant red flag. He needs counselling. Seafield says not the arsehole. Tell your husband that you would like to go to counselling with him to find out from his therapist what you can do to handle the situation with him. I'm willing to bet that he will refuse your request. I would then find a therapist for yourself to help you find some coping skills. OP, you have a challenge on your hands and you need to ensure that your needs are met first. Otherwise, you can't help your husband. I would also suggest that you tell your husband that every time he leaves a mess, you'll continue to stack his mess on his gaming console. He will be furious, but that is on him. I would tell him if he doesn't like it, then he can do better because you will no longer enable his poor behavior. Take care of yourself and I wish you well. ULT says not the arsehole. PTSD allows a person to be messy and not take responsibility. I'm not an expert, but this seems a bit of a stretch, especially after the manipulation disguised as a joke. If he really has PTSD, he should be in therapy. There are better treatments. If he refuses, I would think twice about his maturity level and seek assistance with his attitude and treating you like a servant. One more comment from Babby J. Graham who says, not the arsehole, honey, I was married to a man like this. PTSD is no excuse for him treating you like a bangmaid. Time to permanently get rid of the rubbish, and by that I mean the slob you live with. But thank yourself later. Mine started getting physically abusive when I got upset at his mess and said something, and his excuse was that I deserved it, and I always knew which buttons to push. He said it in front of my son, who muttered loudly, yeah, speaking the truth definitely will do it every time, with an eye roll. The day I told my ex I wanted a divorce, my son just said, finally. PTA is not a joke, by the way. He said that because he knew you got mad and tried to play it off as a joke, so you'd be the arsehole for getting mad. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. It's absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.